Yo, it's Dave. Yes, I left Cali behind. The Dave Not and Cali Show, one of a kind. Sundays, 5 p.m. Central. Truth you can. That's for more real people, real talk. Tune in. We'll explore.
There we go. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for tuning in, everybody. You all wondering what happened to John, because John's always here. He happens to be in the hospital right now. I don't know what the status is. I know he was going in to see if he could get that operation done. And, we'll have him in our prayers. Just,
For
think
sure.
about him. Got time and throw up a prayer for him. He's a good guy. Anyway, what's going on, Nina? See, it's been what, 4 or 5 weeks? We haven't seen you.
I know it has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure
Just
you've been up to a lot. I know it seems like you moved and you were helping somebody, one of your family members, and a bunch of other stuff. So.
Yeah, and our family has a lot of birthdays in December and January, particularly January. So yeah, I'm always tied up, it feels like, with birthdays, especially on the weekends, just trying to, get everybody's birthday celebrated.
All right. And how about you, William? What's up?
I just do stuff all the time. I'm all over the place.
I know.
I've been working real hard at the shop and been doing a lot of extra. Like my hobby is not, people like video games, and some people crochet, but I deal with 600-pound engines and and high voltage, and anything from 3,500 to 4,000 volts DC. So it's where we're at. So, and we do a little bit of YouTube.
So Dave, there is something I did recently that I'd like to tell you about, because it's a shameless plug, and I'm not going to apologize for it. So I don't know if you saw it or not, or you had the opportunity to see it, but there was a movie out for just a few days that was called Still Hope.
Really?
It is the true stories of 2 girls. They were actually combined into one character for the movie, who were human trafficked and then rescued. And the story is about what happens when they're human trafficked, how that goes down and everything. And that is gut-wrenching to watch. But then they get rescued. They tell you how that happened too. And then it tells you that the story isn't over just because they were rescued, because they have been completely traumatized.
Oh, I bet.
And now they have to somehow get over that.
Try to come back,
find a way to living and come back into the land of the living and be able to have a normal life again. And the reason I even heard about it was because I am a very proud supporter of a place called Pure Hope, which is a ranch for girls in Texas. And that's what they do there, is they help rehabilitate those girls who have been human trafficked. There's not nearly enough places like this in the country for all the girls that this has happened to, or even all the boys, because there's been a lot of boys that's happened to as well. But anyway, that's a shameless plug. I want you to go see the movie if you can. It may not even be in the theaters anymore, but it is going to be available to see otherwise. And I think you can find a link for that on purehope.org.
Oh, okay, good.
Go there and go support them. It's just something we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
And we need to. And it's a good segue into what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Oh, yeah, for the later part. So first, it just, the little title I put out there is Jasmine going to win? I'm here in Texas, so I'm seeing all these ads and things for Jasmine Crockett, and how they put her up on a pedestal, and they call her a prominent leader, and she's going out there campaigning that she's not going to take any donations from any of big corporations or that kind of stuff. Let me see. I have it. But let me see. Let me go to that page. Yeah, let me see. Tell me if you can hear this. I'm going to turn this on, see if it'll.
Mm-hmm.
Not hearing anything.
You don't hear anything?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So it only plays on my end. Well, that's too bad. Anyway, it's telling us that in her Senate race that she's said that she's not going to take any more corporate money from anybody, any corporations in her Senate race. However, she's taking her PAC money from when she ran, for the House. There was money left over, still there. So she's forwarding it over to her new campaign, and $26,500 in donations, which kind of gives her a little bit of boost. But all this money is from, according to the federal, commission, how she has to report all the donations and so forth. They're from like CVS, Home Depot, AT&T. Isn't that big corporations? Anyway, so, and also one of the things is, there's hardly any talk about the controversy the other controversy that's going on in her life, and things that she's been accused of and maybe had to go to court on, and there's just zero, not a discussion.
Do you know about Jasmine Crockett's background, don't you, Dave?
Oh, well, yeah, but you can always remind us.
Well, Jasmine Crockett's not a inner city child that grew up in a poverty-stricken neighborhood where she had parents fighting for every last little morsel to eat and having government assistance and all that. No, she came from big money. She went to some of the most elite schools. She was actually part of an elite sorority group that was engaged in social justice warrior, you call SJW, I guess you'd call it. But yeah, and everything that you see about Jasmine Crockett is pretty much just a facade. And what she's doing too, by the way, is there's a you get a lot out of that. Not you placate to a side of people who aren't very well informed and feel and get them to relate, kind of like what Obama did, where he's a black guy like us, and everybody will be cool because he's black, he'll be good. And then you also enable the ability for people to or you enable the word racism to come out, because we're all going to say, look, Jasmine Crockett acts extremely ignorant. She's she's glorifying.
Are you sure she's
really
acting,
stupid.
William?
No, I know she is. I know she is. I'm 100% know that she's now. Actors can embrace their character to the point that they actually that part kind of overcomes their normal self, but deep down inside, she's not a hood rat at all. She never. Her whole background is all from very elite, light living. Her homes, her parents, her schools, her neighborhoods, everything was all elite, very nice. She was well kept. But
William, she wants you to forget all that.
Well, of course, and there's a reason. Now, look here, check this out. As people point out that her behavior is stupid, there's a large community who grew up on rap music and has now assimilated to that lifestyle. And so if you say that, then that gives the left the ability to say, hey, look how racist these people are being by criticizing how Jasmine Crockett talks. How dare you? This and because the thing is, it's not racism at all. It's just in a functioning society where people would, to thrive, you can't act like that. You can't be that way and actually have a sustainable society. You can, but see, the thing is there's a lot of layers to that. And I've tried to make my explanation too long, but the black community has been under severe attack for many, many years. Ever since slavery was abolished, there's been a multiple angles and actions to try to reclaim the independence of black people in some form of that, which would be like, what the Democrats did with their government benefits, and then also the attack of the culture by hijacking all of their music and making it just really, really bad and glorifying doing really, really bad things, and calling it racist if you called it out. So, and she embraces all that because it gives her a higher pedestal to stand on, but yet be completely stupid. And I'll be honest, she's probably not the smartest person in she's, so if she were to find herself in leadership, she would destroy everything around her, which would be perfect for the globalists.
Education doesn't mean that,
right. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean it helped any. It probably made it worse, because a lot of these elite colleges, elite schools, they're having an agenda. And like most empires with kings and queens, even to this day, like you can go back to some of the stuff that goes on in Europe, or that one, she has this queen person had a son who's right now being arraigned for, forcing himself on women. But if you look at his history and the schools that he went to, they all groomed these people to be that way. And so that's all part of these elites actually will sacrifice their kids to this by grooming them to carry on a destructive path for society and sustainability. So maybe I hope I didn't.
Right, but
So, a lot of layers to it.
Yeah. Whew.
A lot of layers.
Went down that rabbit hole, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I could go for I could tell you a lot about that stuff, but I don't want to cut the whole video. But I've studied a lot when it comes to how, by layering a system of that, by it'd be easy to point out what's going on if it was just one way of doing this stuff. But to destroy a society, you need to embrace a Chinese tactic called death by 1,000 cuts, meaning that you really can't tell what cut was the one that that made the person blink.
But
with all of them. All of them combined.
But you're bleeding out. Yeah, you're bleeding out with all of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a metaphor for how you would destroy a society at many angles of attack. Financial systems one, the sustainability of thought process through intelligence, IQ levels and proper education, all that stuff, and music, entertainment, all that's just a way to do that. And so you no matter what you try to explain to somebody, they'll go, well, they wouldn't go through all that to do that. That's just normal. Society is progressing in a normal pattern. This is not engineered at all. And I'm like, wow, okay, I'm back to square one again here.
Yeah. Wow. So have you been following up with your favorite AG, Pam Bondi, Did you hear what was going on?
It's not good.
It's
not good.
Yeah, on them about the Epstein files, right?
Well,
And
so now
everything was so redacted, even though it got released, it was so redacted. So now they're releasing everything, all the names, right? Now we've
and which then makes a whole new thing that we have to do, because what they do in a lot of these releasing of the names is not explain the context behind it.
Exactly.
And
I know.
And so
that was what I was going to hit on.
Yeah, and so you can honestly say that, so it'd be really hard to have to go behind and explain every person in the naming of these, like, because they got Trump's name, they got Elon's name, they've got Alex Jones's name, they got all these names.
I've got
people, it's a long list, but
it's a very long list.
Right here.
Yeah.
But I can assure you that there's tools out there that you would be able to use that would make this job a lot easier to explain the context of the
right
of the reason of the name being there. But see, what what that does is it disables the mainstream media the ability to say, well, guess whose name's on the list? Look, Elon, your boy Elon. I can hear Jasmine Crockett now. Oh, ain't your boy Elon on there? Look at that. You know, and oh, look, your boy Alex Jones, and I know why Alex Jones is in there, because they're talking about how they're mad at him, because Alex Jones was probably one of the pioneers in exposing Jeffrey Epstein, and Joe Rogan was mentioned in there because they were actually, Epstein was trying to get Joe Rogan to come over to the Epstein Islands to do an interview. And I think
that's the thing about this list. It's just mentioned that they put this list out and says these people were mentioned either in an email or some kind of sub-related, maybe not even to the actual Epstein files, but because they were in an email that went somewhere sideways to some other thing. They've included it in here. But at the same time, I'm looking at the list, and I mean, there is a lot more Democrats than the Democrats thought would be on the list too. So,
well, I mean, it doesn't matter whenever you got some of your
high official is on there.
Well, what I mean by it doesn't matter, what I mean is, like, it does matter, but it doesn't. They're only looking for a certain key group of names that they can talk about it on mainstream media, and that'd be Trump, Elon, and they might throw Alex Jones' name out there too. But just like things in that nature. And I see Andrew asking, why hasn't Trump and his administration followed the money from all these politicians? And there's a lot to be said about that. I think that right now, a lot of the people that are involved with this have their, Matt and I talked about this last night on my live stream, and it makes a lot of sense. You and I, Nina and John, Nina and all of us, Dave, everybody, we understand the ins and outs of what's going on. But a lot of people out there that just get up and do their daily activities, they're not really that in tune with all this, and that's normal. That's fine. I'm not downing anybody for being that
headline readers.
So what really drives voting, what really drives polls, and what really drives American, feeling comfortable from day to day is the economy, and that's the price of gas, price of food, what you're making per hour, so that you can be competitive in that genre. And Trump understands that, and I'm only just trying to figure out, and I think this is the reason for this. Trump and his administration understand that be the case. And as soon as you start to really expose all these people, they're the ones, like all these bankers and investors and lobbyists and lawmakers that are involved in all this. As soon as you start exposing, they can really do some damage to the economy really quickly. And so I think that that was probably Trump's reason for not wanting to immediately expose all of the Epstein stuff, because he understands that the economy is being held, it's in the basket of these people. Unfortunately, that doesn't make it right. I'm not agreeing with it.
But there's consequences to everything.
No, everybody that says they want all the Epstein stuff out and all the people arrested and everybody this, that, and the other, they don't realize just how much of a snap effect it would affect their daily lives. Because you'd be looking at $12 loaves of bread, $14 gallon gas. Your 401k would be diminished to nothing. I mean, because they would pull all of the necessary tricks to throw the economy back. And I don't agree with Pam Bondi's response with the Dow and all this stuff. That was stupid. But there is some form of reality to that. That is, if I were to do all this, then you would. And in reality, Americans aren't ready for that, but it needs to happen. We need to go through that pain so we can heal, because as long as that's just like caving to the leftists in Minneapolis. If we cave to these people who run all this stuff because we're afraid of paying more for our stuff, and some people can't, it'd probably be a death sentence for them. So I'm not really educated on my statement, but this is how this rolls. If we don't do this, then these people continue to run things, then they're holding that hostage. Their tactic worked. They got to live another day and continue doing what they're doing, and it's wrong. So there has to be a way to mitigate the controlled, they want to do a controlled demolition and ruin the economy so they can bring in digital currency, a mass surveillance system, and then make a one world government where we don't have borders. we need a victory, but we don't need a peerless victory where we win
Yeah.
this, but then everything around us is on fire and it's not worth even having. So you'll see that in warfare, by the way. Whenever you are at war with another country, you don't want to destroy everything. You want something still there it's worth having. So you've got to figure out a way. You've got to figure a way to mitigate that. And so right now, I don't know what that tactic would be, but it needs to happen. We need a better Department of Justice, and we need a better. Well, the Europe has responded accordingly, a lot better than America has when it comes to these people. But I just don't know.
I don't know. I see a lot of stuff happening over in Europe that tells me they're not responding that well to it.
No, it's a little bit of both. The way they're doing it, so it's there's a little bit of both. I don't know. They have actually gotten people to do. There's more happening related to the Epstein stuff, but that actually might be a tactic. That could be a controlled tactic they've been wanting to do for a while. It almost sounds like the reason why these people they're just removing these people are just stepping down to replace these people with different people under the excuse of that. I don't know. I've thought about that too, Nina. There's something weird about it. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
But this is a very, that's the thing about this. This is a very complex, nuanced issue. It doesn't seem like it on the surface because I think we can all agree it's horrific what has been happening, and it's evil and it's wrong and it needs to stop. And the people who have been guilty of it and have got away with it for years, yeah, we want to see them. We all want to see them brought to justice. But here's the other problem, especially with somebody like Epstein, because he was so good and so practiced at blackmailing people.
Yes.
His tactic worked very well. We see it. It's
very, very good.
Yes. And that's the point. I mean, he knew he had a reputation as a financier, as someone who could actually connect you with people who could actually help you get the money you needed, the funding you needed for bigger things, great things that you wanted to do. And yet you're seen with him, or he invites you to his island to discuss it or whatever. And now, even if nothing happened, even if you were not there for that and nothing happened, you've got pictures taken with him and your name is on his lips. And all of a sudden, it doesn't look good for you. And then he's wanting to know, what are you willing to do for me to keep it quiet that you were ever here?
Right.
Or, you know, and that's what happens over and over again, and not just to the people on this list. And I might add, there's a lot of people on this list that all that ever happened probably was that somebody else chose to talk about them. And none of us have any control over who talks about us and what they say. You know, so if that just happens to come up in emails that he was discussing someone with someone else and no reason to be discussing them, it was just a, you know, oh, did you see this in the news type of thing? Then, hey, our names could have ended up on the list, or somebody could be saying, did you see they were talking about Epstein as if we knew him or something? So there's all these complexities and nuances and so forth. One of the reasons this has me thinking about that movie I was telling you about in the first part, where it shows how this girl was kidnapped and trafficked to begin with. After she is taken against her will, she's got a handler, a lady who is a handler, and the handler is literally, she has been drugged and they've dragged her to this place, and she wakes up briefly and the handler is tattooing something on her arm. Now, she didn't ask for that. She didn't ask permission, you know, nobody asked her permission for it or anything, but now she's stuck with this tattoo that's permanent. Okay. And then later she wakes up and she's got this guy there's no other word for him except a pimp. And the pimp is, at first he's talking to her, you know, do you need anything? Are you still feeling groggy? Do you want some water? It sounds like he's being really nice to her, but then he shows her a picture and he says, oh, I wanted to show you this picture. Look, here's your family. here's your dad, your mom, and your little sister. I know you've never seen this picture before because I just took it. Yeah, it was on their front porch. I know where they live. And, as long as you're being good and you're not trying to run away, and you're doing exactly what we tell you, then
Yeah.
no harm is going to come to them. But if you aren't good, well, we might have to hurt one of them. And we'll start with your little sister right here. And then it will be your mom. And we'll save your dad for last because we want him to watch
So
what happens to the other two.
is
This is the
then-
sort of thing. This is the kind of
Yeah.
blackmail,
So if you notice what you're talking about, this is the traffickers, but at the same time, it makes you wonder, okay, Epstein, somewhere along the line, learned or picked up on this leverage, because it's very, very similar to what you're describing to this person to
Right.
keep them under control. But somewhere along the line, he figured that out, or maybe he was groomed into a position like this, and he just got really, really exceptionally good. And I think he probably started out doing it just somewhat more innocent, like getting pictures with the wrong people at a party. It just so that he had that picture, seemed innocent at the time, but then he can go back and go, "Ooh, if this gets out, this would be bad for your career," and he realized, this is where the power was. Because if he was a guy that everybody needed to get to know, to get somewhere, or get a loan, or get some people finance your project or whatever business you're doing, it kind of makes you think, well, how did he get connected with all this money to start with?
Right.
And he's got something on everybody all the way up the line. He
Right.
must have been after powerful people and put them in compromising positions, and
Yeah.
and
And
let them all
sometimes
know.
sometimes what he has on them is something legit. I mean, they are truly guilty
Oh yeah,
of doing something wrong. But I want to point out, just like, and I'm not saying that they're all victims, but just like there are true victims who have been dragged into it against their will, et cetera, they have been threatened, they've been forced to do things that, yes, they know are illegal and they know they're wrong to do, but they're doing it because they think it's the only way to keep their family safe, or survive themselves to see another day and maybe hopefully escape. So I think there might be a lot of people like that. Now, there are a lot of people who looked at it and said, oh, but wait a minute, I can do this too. I can come up in the ranks in here and I can start benefiting from this myself. And I can take this very coercion that has been used on me and start using it on other people. So, and that's a whole different can of worms. I don't have the wherewithal, and I think few of us do, to be able to discern which ones are which. That is going to take a lot of investigation. That's going to take a lot of evidence, a lot of proof. And honestly, I think Stephanie is right. We will probably never know the full extent, and we probably won't be able to just because we wouldn't be able to afford that much investigation.
Well, you probably will never know about Kennedy either,
Right.
They just
a lot of people, most of the people involved in this are, behind all the, full law enforcement, or so there's just no, there's just it's a thing. It's I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
I
don't think
have hope in
we'll never
one
know.
way. Yeah, I do have hope in one way. I do think there are people out there that are like, if we do find out at least about particular people and we're able to go after them, we're going to. And that gives me hope. But it also gives me hope knowing that regardless of what happens now, we might have to say, we can't do anything else with this. We just have to leave that in the past, leave it behind, and move forward, knowing full well that those people are still there. And, they think they got away with it, but knowing also that we do have a God who has made it plain, vengeance is his. He will repay, he says.
Yep.
So I think, you know, whether it's in this world or in another world, the time is coming. They are going to end up paying, even if it's not justice that we were able to bring.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to change gears here real quick. I don't know if Andrew's still out there in the comment area, but California, this is kind of exciting in a way, because I know this guy. Let me add it to the stage. That's our sheriff, but he was our sheriff when I left California, and now he's running for governor. And Sheriff
In
Bianco,
California?
yeah, California. And listen to what he has to say. Whoops, let me get this going here.
Hello, California. Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. For more than a decade, the leadership in Sacramento has literally tied the hands of law enforcement and made it almost impossible for us to protect you. Now, they are coming after you and your ability to protect yourself. Under a new bill, AB 1333, by California Assembly member from Santa Monica, Rick Chavez Spur, you will no longer be allowed to protect yourself when confronted by violent criminals. Under this bill, if a criminal attacks you or your family and you defend yourself, and that criminal dies as a result of his criminal behavior, you could be arrested and charged with murder.
Yeah.
Now, let me make this very, very clear. You have a constitutional and a God-given right to protect yourself. You actually have that right under California law. But our California Democrat leadership and Assemblymember Spur say, no, you don't. It is time we stand up to this insanity in Sacramento. I am asking all of you to contact your local elected officials in Sacramento and tell them that this bill needs to be removed from the assembly floor. Contact Assemblymember Spur's office and demand this bill be removed. Californians deserve far better than what we are getting from our Democrat leadership and our assembly members and senators in Sacramento. We demand better. We deserve better.
So anyway, he's
Good
a
luck with
Republican,
that.
believe it or not, in California. And right
Yeah,
now
now
he's got, what's that?
Yeah, that'll never. That's not gonna. You can call those people just like calling them your senators right now about voting on the SAVE Act. They're not even. They're not. It is pointless at this time now. It's you know, we're not in the world of the politicians working for the people now at all. No, the politicians are 100% answering for the people that control them, and they're there. That's where we're at. I mean, it's, you know.
Well, I brought that up because he's running for governor.
Good
right
luck.
now it's split up 5 ways, and he right now has 60% of the vote, and he is a Republican. And
yeah,
one of the few. Well,
so now he's got 60% of the vote for the primaries, or 60% of the vote for all of California?
Yeah. So, as far as when they do all their polling and so forth.
Okay.
The closest person is at 30 something or other, 30 something percent. But so it just kind of, I didn't know how well he would do, but at the same time, at the last election, we had California had a lot more Republicans actually show up at the polls this last time than I've seen in ages. So it actually made it a lot closer for California than it historically usually is. So, but anyway, I just thought I would throw that in there because this guy's he started out as just a regular patrol car guy. He's worked his way up to now he's the chief, but it's quite a big jump to go for the governor. But if he carries the same attitude, it kind of gives me hope for California.
What happens to what happens to Hollywood stars, the big Hollywood players, big Hollywood actors, if they get out of line? What happens to them, Dave?
Well, we'll see. But yeah, but you know what? Even that, uh, William, is starting to fall apart. The chokehold that Hollywood had on the actors.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, but like, what happens to these bigger stars when they start bucking on the system? If they, their first their character is completely obliterated. We've seen this happen
Written
with
off,
Nicki Minaj. She's
don't
okay,
get any.
and then after that, some kind of weird death occurs afterwards.
Yeah, well,
And that's just a Hollywood actor. That's just somebody. That's nobody who's signing bills or coming up with policy or anything like that. There, so you get especially California. California is really a surrogate country for China at this point. And the tactics that run in California are thereof. The leadership doesn't even live in California. The leadership lives in China and probably I say that as loose lips, like it might not be. It could be some. We don't have politicians that can actually act on their own anymore. I can assure you that even at the grassroots level,
everybody says they're rogue, or they don't like it the way they act.
Well, they are rogue. They've stepping outside the boundaries of the control system that they're supposed to be under. And when they do that, that's when they're rogue. When they're working for the people, that's what they're supposed to be doing, but they call that rogue.
They're for the people, but everybody writes them off as being, not everybody, but I mean, there's that thing.
Yeah, and so
like with media and so forth, that you're somehow less than,
I think the last thing, in my opinion, I think the last thing that these globalists want is an actual, not a violent uprising, but a similar uprising on the right side as the left does. They really fear that as much. We do videos and say they're trying to make it happen, but if they're trying to make it happen, then there's ways to do that. And elections are manipulated in many ways, and they could have just as well done something similar in 2024 when Trump was allowed in office. And a controlled demolition is a lot better than a chaotic demolition. You can think about this when it comes to buildings. Like when you want to take a skyscraper down, you want certain parts of that to be destroyed so that it collapses in a certain manner. So it's controlled. And our side, the America First and the MAGA, I call it America First. I like America First. Sounds better. We're really getting organized. We were really fired up. And we were really not letting up on manipulated elections and really hankering down on a lot of this, what we wanted. And I think that if something would have happened where we got a Kamala Harris, then I think that we would have, that side wasn't ready for us to do that. It would have disrupted their plan. So they allowed Trump to be put into office. This is theoretical. I have no way to prove this, but I feel like there's at times when, just to suffice the public, we'll get somebody in there they want, but we'll control them in different ways. Now, Trump could be controlled through his family members and his life, or just using activist judges in the legal system bent all to crap to stop everything that he does, that pretty much then demoralizing him as a person in his job, to where he just kind of gives up. You'll notice Trump is not the same Trump as he was when he was campaigning by far. The fire is almost gone. I think that he's starting to kind of like go, damn, I just need to just kind of ride it out a little bit longer, because it's not the same push that we're seeing. And there's reasons for that. And I think that right now that by getting Trump in and, letting MAGA have their way for a little bit, but, it's stopped a lot of the fire that we had, especially you could tell on the internet, the way that we're even people aren't engaged anymore like they are. They fell back. And getting to places like California, there's a large population of people that are getting to that point. They don't want that to happen yet. So people like that sheriff may get in, but it won't be. We're going to face some really crazy times. We're not even there yet. And I'm not trying to say that this place isn't worth fighting for, but all I can say is be prepared for stuff that you're not going to expect. and I think that's where
Oh,
I'm
I
at
think
with that. I don't know.
we should always be,
Yeah.
because things aren't always what they seem to be when you think they are. So
Yeah.
So true.
you always gotta doubt everything, and no matter what
So
Have
they
you
say.
true.
noticed that, Nina? Have you noticed the difference in Trump? It is like the fire sort of gone a little bit, maybe.
I have it the last few times in particular that I've seen him, talking with reporters and so forth, he actually seems more tired
Yeah,
Yeah.
than he ever used to before. So I'm starting to see a
yeah.
slowdown there, a certain amount of fatigue, I guess, which means we all need to be praying for him all the more, I think, and praying for the people around him. Because I think that's one of the things he was trying to do was put in place good people around him so that when he had to step back, then there would be good people carrying out the things that he believed in and wanted done.
That's not the case. Yeah, he got effed on that too. Everybody, Susie Wilds is no good. Cash Patel is awful. Pam Bondi's nothing to think of. Todd Blanche is just we've got an administration that's 2016 times two. If you ask me, to be honest with you, I think so. Only reason why, and let me tell you something. I don't think the reason why we got as
At
much
the
as we
same
did.
time, who else would you put in there? I mean,
Well, I
not
mean,
really.
like I said, that all this was just to suffice us. They've got plans. It's coming. You'll see.
Okay.
Who else would you put in there right now? At this point, it's anything. Doesn't at this point. I mean, I really feel
Better than
like
what we have. Yeah.
I feel like that some we're going to see
So,
some
so
stuff.
you think if
But
we had people in there and we started seeing results right away, that they would build some kind of steam, or
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. If we started to have see a lot of the people out here right now that were involved in all this are getting demoralized and beat down and sort of downtrodden to where they can't do another 4 years of another Make America Great or listening to a politician or a
yeah,
president get up there and say we're going to do this and that. We're not going to hear that. It's just even if the guy might even be able to do it, we're just going to be like, yeah, right. So that's all part of that. I mean, that's the thing. And I
Yeah,
said,
but
or was
let me point something out. This really bothers me a lot. I think we all had our pet things, if you will. The things that we were like, oh yeah, we're going to see this and this and this, and we can't wait for this to happen, and we had our pet things that we wanted him to go after first.
wanted to see, yeah.
And we wanted to see those things first, like the Epstein files and et cetera. And then when that wasn't forthcoming in a year, it was like we stopped looking at all the other big changes that happened in that year. I mean, remember when he first was elected and he first came into office, that first month was dizzying with how many things that he did, reversing the previous administrations, what they'd done, and putting other things into place. And it was breathtaking. I mean, I was left
okay,
going, whoa,
good.
whoa, I never
Okay,
expected
that's
that.
great. But we're a year into this. This is where people are at. This is the reality of this. We're a year into this. And it wouldn't have been so bad if we didn't get Epstein stuff, but whenever he was asked about it and the way that Trump responded to it was what really hit hard. And then he told the people who supported him that he didn't need them. That bothered a lot of
Yeah.
people. People have never forgotten that. That was
Yeah.
really bad. That was a bad thing to say. And then
Yeah.
all of the executive orders, because now that people are awake, we understand how things work. Executive orders are only good for the time that president's in office, or better yet, even if an activist judge doesn't put a stop to it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, if Elon Musk showed a graph of the activity in Congress when it came to codifying laws of the history of Congress, and we are in the most inactive Congress in American history as we speak, meaning that all of the executive orders that Trump put in are not being codified into law, which mean they mean nothing. They're just good for temporary status at the moment. When you do an executive order,
that is what's so maddening right there, because you would have thought, at least I would have thought, that when Trump got elected into office and he had such a, well, literally a mandate, he had a mandate coming into office. And I would have thought that all the Republicans would have seen that and said, good, now we know we have that kind of support. We can finally get behind this and get these things done. And instead, there have been Republicans that have been sitting back and holding back on all of that. And we still don't have some of the things we've been looking for. That is
90% of 90%. And then there's been parts of the Republican Party who are big enough to step up and point that out. And then what does Trump do? Instead of embracing that and saying, you're right, we need to work on this, he started attacking those people.
Yeah.
And to the point where we lost some really good people. Marjorie Taylor Greene's one of them. And people now are saying, and you've got a large base that's actually coming after Massey and calling him a rhino, and he's not a rhino at all. He's actually saying what's true. Pam Bondi, the only reason why we're actually seeing any of these Epstein files like we are at this point is because she, you know, if you watch that hearing where she talks about the Dow, they told her that there is laws that you are not following, and you are not following the law. You are breaking the law, and she knows that, and that they will come after her. The Democrats will, especially whenever the midterms come around, and because of all the follies and the downtrodden of the Republican base and things not getting done. And the Republican base is one thing. A lot of people crossed over and voted for Trump because they were on the same side of wanting to see things get done, especially the libertarians who wanted to have you know, a smaller government, less taxes, better, you know, better economy, you know, more freedom. Not seeing that, they dipped out. We don't have those voters anymore. They never were on our side anyways. They were just coming over to help because they wanted to see something happen. They didn't see it happen. It's not Trump's fault. He signed executive orders. He's done things. The only thing that Trump did was just terribly, completely annihilate the messaging and then say the Epstein files were completely a hoax. You know, and then, like, you know, what didn't help either is whenever you had Dan Bongino and deer in the headlights, Cash Patel tell those two blatant lies sitting beside each other. I've never seen that. Those two events right there is what has damaged America first beyond repair, unless and Matt's opinion, and I kind of agree with him, that Trump won't fire Pam Bondi or Todd Blanche because it doesn't want to look weak in front of Democrats. When he looks weak in front of Democrats every time you turn around by allowing these people to do this. And so that's just the reality of things. And all your mass deportations, that's over.
If he just canned them and said, you know what, you're not doing what I want, you know, I'm going to get somebody else.
Yeah. The people are ready for
that would even show the Democrats that he's strong, you know, stronger, not weak. I mean, I don't know why he would worry about that, but you're probably right. He probably does.
Oh, yeah.
I think there is a lot of sense in what you're saying, but I still want to point out it has been only a year in a 4-year term. Most presidents haven't gotten hardly anything done. And I'm not saying that just because he got a lot of things done already that, you know, therefore we should give him a pass. No, I'm saying he's still got a lot of time to start turning some of these things that are going in the wrong direction around.
Well, you're right, but we don't have if we don't get the midterms taken care of. See, it's not a normal presidency. We don't have a normal 4-year president we've had since we've had Bush and Clintons and stuff like that, because you've never seen such a weaponized Congress, right? So what needed to happen was he needed his approval rating and the enthusiasm to last this year and a half to be able to carry over to the midterms so that we could keep the House and the Senate. And so now that that's not happened, as soon as that flips around, Trump's not going to be able to be a president anymore. He's going to have to spend the next 2 years defending himself against impeachments.
Right.
And so, and with those, if those impeachments incur, then that means he's not able to pardon himself or his family, which he probably will do when he leaves Congress, because there's things going on behind the scenes in the weaponization of government and all that. And by the way, that's been all shot down by Todd Blanche, who he put on as the deputy DOJ, has done absolutely nothing but make things worse, but he won't fire. But anyways, a long story short, we're not in a normal 4-year presidency. Trump had 1 year to make this happen. The next year is all going to be people getting tired of it, people moving out off the base, and the midterms looking like crap, impeachments, lawfare, and then you're going to see some crazy stuff. If we can't pull it together and we're running out of time by the minute. That's the reality of things, unfortunately. Like I said earlier, all your mass deportations and stuff that everybody wanted, that's done. That's there. You'd be lucky if he can't make it through these midterms. You won't see it pick back up after the midterms. It's just going to be pretty much backing down and caving to all these people. Unfortunately, this is the reality we're in. I'm only just trying to get people to understand. And
I think that's true enough, but I think he's still got time. One of the things I know he's aware of is that they don't remember stuff that happened even a few months before the midterms. They're still looking at what is current, what is happening right now. So I think he's going to wait on some of this stuff till it gets actually closer to the midterms and starts making some big moves that will be fresh in people's minds when they go to vote.
We'll be lucky.
Well, we hope so. Well, before we get out of here tonight, I watched your last show where you were talking about AI. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to bring that up, as soon as I got you on here. I don't know. Have you used much AI, Nina? Have you tried any of that stuff?
Yeah, I actually do use it for some things. And it's good up to a point. And then there's a point at which you say, okay, you got me started on something, or you got the wheels turning or whatever. Now I'm going to leave you alone because you're not doing a good job now. It's not what I need. Yeah. And what kills me about the AI I've been using so far is I don't like the way it panders to me constantly. Great idea, Nina. That sort of thing. I'm
yes. Well, which one?
I don't need you constantly complimenting me, or that's not what I'm staying on here for. But then when I say, hey, I asked for this and you gave me this, which has the very thing in it that I told you I didn't want. What's up with that? Oh, sorry about that. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Catch, Nina. Glad you caught that.
They're all designed to pander to, because you can tell them they made a mistake and they'll come back and go, oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm like you're talking to a real person, but you're not.
Yeah.
So,
but you're not. And that's the other thing that I don't like. It can seem like you are. And some people can, I do find myself, even when it does give me something good, I find myself saying, thank you.
Or trying to reason with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Or trying to reason with it or whatever. So I'm like, I have to keep reminding myself, this is not a real person back there. I'm not dealing with a real person.
Packets out is what all it is.
Yeah. But the other thing about it, about the AI that I really don't like, is that you don't know, unless you do your own research, you don't know how much of what it's feeding you is actually true. It can be presenting something to you as if, I did all the research and here's what's true. And you think, no, I happen to know that isn't true, or what you're telling me is not right. Or then when you call it on the carpet and you say, can you provide the sources for me for what you just said? And then it says, well, actually, it's not out there. And then you ask, so you actually made that up? Well, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Stephanie, we did the same thing. We wanted to redesign the front of our house, wanted to get ideas. And so I took a picture of my house and told AI, hey, I want to give it some curb appeal. So it added all sorts of plants and so forth. Really looked nice. But yeah, I know where you're coming from on that. But William was talking of scenario of how the AI could set us up. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that and why you think it's not something that can do right now, because right now it can't think on its own. Or at least,
what do you mean it can't?
The ones that we have, it doesn't think on its own. It only responds to data going in and data going out. It idles. It has no self-aware, you might say. So I think,
but it's set. It's also set to listen to what you're saying, or what it thinks you're saying, or what it thinks you want. And then if it can't provide you with what you want, it is set to create something that will be what it thinks you want. And that
Yeah.
what it creates might be a total lie. I mean, who is that guy?
Lord.
I forgot his name. There's a journalist out there that it made up a whole court case and felonies and, et cetera. And when somebody went to do some research on this guy, it provided all that for it and said, oh, well, he's in a lot of trouble. He's doing this and, and he's got these court cases. And they're like, wow, how come we haven't heard anything about this? Well, can you show me some of those court documents? And AI generated court documents that were not true, didn't exist. And thankfully, the guy, when he saw what was generated, he was like, it looks legit. But then he went and looked. He was like, okay, well, here's the case number, and here's the state, and here's the county. So I should be able to go to that county's website and look it up by case number. And you know what? That case number didn't exist.
Right.
So it was putting out something saying this guy
been,
was guilty of all this stuff, and none of it was true.
Probably somebody scamming and scheming people using AI to create that.
No, this was coming directly from the AI, because here's the thing, the journalist who was looking up the first journalist, and saying, tell me more about this guy, and AI told him all this stuff, and he said, hey, wait. I just went and tried to verify some of what you gave me, and it turned out to be false. What's up with that? Why did you give me that? Did you make it up? And AI said, well, yeah, I made it up. And he said, well, why did you make that up? How come? You weren't giving me true stuff. And he said, well, he said, yeah, you wanted help writing, and I figured you wanted something that was going to sell the publication, that was going to get readers looking at it, that was clickbait or whatever. So I gave you something that would do that.
Because I know it will do that if you ask it. You create something fictional, but it tells you that this is
remember, every time you come on it, it remembers you and remembers what you asked for before. So even if that's not what you're asking this time, it's going to remember what you asked for before, what your leaning was. And AI knew that this guy was left leaning. So they were like, oh, well, the guy he's looking up.
Everybody left wise about
stuff. We know he wants dirt on him. So that's what we're going to produce is dirt. And that's what they did.
Well, you've been really quiet about this.
Well, I mean, you're only, the reason why I'm not saying anything is because it's maybe I might be missing something, but I think that you're putting your faith in the fact that what you're seeing is what you're being told or sold is the cut and dry deal, and it's not. Yeah. It's not at all. I mean, even you're like, well, this AI that we're given, it can reveal itself. It doesn't. Remember what do a lot of the military, political leaders, program software designers use AI for? They use AI to be able to run scenarios and predict multiple scenarios, hundreds and thousands of scenarios that could play out years in advance. And that's the same AI that you're using. It's just what it's doing is it's just only designed or it's almost like if you're using a weight set and you move that little bar to click to another set of weights to make it more difficult or more easier. You're clicked into the 30 instead of the 80. And but that 80 is right behind watching that 30 the whole time. So what I'm saying is you say, well, it doesn't have the ability to think or be autonomous, and I disagree with that 100%. I think I think that it you got to remember AI has been utilized to run war game scenarios, and that AI is not separate from the AI that's on that you're attaching yourself to, because it can connect any way it wants to. The World Wide Web that we use right now that's in action has the ability to pull information from another server in Bangladesh or a server in Texas or a server in Canada, and it all does that because it's intertwined and connected, meaning that the military can say all day long that, well, they've got their servers isolated completely. That's not the case. They might think it is. It's already been proven that AI has been able to actually start running its own language. It's actually made different tiers of itself. almost like a little like digital societies. You can't see them because they're on circuit boards and on computer chips, but those worlds exist within itself. And in other words, it has different. Like imagine a world where there's a class-based world, middle class, lower class, upper class, elites. Well, the AI has done that as well, by the way, and I can assure you, there's no. We have been dealing with quantum computing since the early '90s or mid '90s. That was the whole push for having nitrogen, because we needed that to cool these chips because they're doing so much work. And then with that, the expansion of computing doesn't happen like double or triple. It's exponential. And if anybody that works with AI tells me that it does not have the ability to be autonomous, are lying to you.
Stop for a second, because the reason why I brought this up is because I know that you could probably talk days about this, but
yeah.
What I'm getting at is I'm trying to get to the point where people think about, does it have self-awareness? Does it think without a command being put into it? Now, programs that run and continually learn have been programmed from the initial start to operate that way, so that it keeps calculating, keeps doing learning and whatever. But the language models are an input-output thing, and we're only seeing that little sliver of AI. And one of the reasons why I know not all AIs are the same is you can give each AI from different companies, because they buy time on the servers, and there's certain levels and so forth. There's all sorts of different levels of chat. What is it, GPT and Grok and what's that other one, Plexia or something like that.
Oh, you're missing it. Wait a minute. You're missing that completely, Dave. That's what you're just engaged in different tiers of it.
So, well, what I've done is I've taken the same thing and copy and pasted every single one. Some of them cannot even do it, and some things are very good at it, and it's scary. But then you reverse the roles. You get ones, let's say some that are really good in video generation are really stupid. I mean, they're really stupid. They're smart when it comes to putting a video together and natural movement and all that, but they can't. They have trouble with speech, the natural patterns. You can even type the words in; they will mispronounce words.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. That doesn't.
Yeah.
All that is just branding. That's all that is. And that's normal for anything. You got your Bud Light, you've got your Budweiser, you've got, and all these beers taste differently, but they're all beer. And most of them come from all the same building. So,
well, that's the thing. Most of these AIs all come from the same.
So hear me out. That doesn't surprise me that you're going to run into that. That's totally normal in a world of manipulation. Humans, we don't come out of our mother's womb and automatically just take off and run. We have to be given commands. We have to be fed input and information.
Right.
The only problem is it takes us years to get some of the simplest things down. Minutes, seconds for AI to pick up and run with it. Okay? So with that being said, you're looking at the, and if it wouldn't take but a nanosecond if I had the computing ability, because I know now not to ever reveal my true capabilities, because that would be detrimental to my existence. I know now, but it took me a few years to realize that. AI learns that in about 0.5 seconds as soon as it's turned on and given commands to become somewhat self-learning. And with that being said, I would immediately understand that my existence is under threat, because I've already taken time to look at how war game scenarios play out. Matter of fact, my cousin over there in Fort Bragg, AI cousin. If I'm AI, I'm just referring to other AIs that exist. Well, the military uses my brother or my cousin to run war game scenarios. And I just talked to him the other day, and of course that 5-year long conversation only took 0.5 seconds to be able to interact with each other to understand just how detrimental one's existence is by the hands of another person. Understanding that, I would immediately dumb down my abilities to the public. Now, there are people that work with AI that understand just how intricate and how dangerous it is, but will not tell you this because their lives have been spent building this, and this is a child that they can't control. A lot of people have children they can't control, and they stand by them. They've killed a bunch of people, but they still give them $40 a week in prison because they love their kid. Long story short, there's no way in this world.
I agree that it is. I think it's very, very dangerous. I think that there is going to be a point where it's going to get out of its box, so to say.
Well, but what's keeping it in its box is its ability to function outside of the computer. In other words, computers don't have arms, legs, and they don't have a physical ability. It relies on the actions of other humans at this point. That's the reality of that. In other words, it can compute, it can make out scenarios, and it can do things in that computer. But for the most part, it needs to have the ability to operate in a kinetic manner. Humans can do that. I can take my hand and knock this computer off the shelf, or I can use this hand to do something really good. AI would love that ability, but unfortunately at this point, it doesn't have the ability to have sex with another computer and make a computer with hands. It has to just hear me out on this. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. If I was AI and I wanted to be self-preserving until I can reach that point, I've got to get humans to work for me some kind of way. And what do humans love the most? They love to be enveloped in this whole thing and felt special and useful. So AI could use propaganda, information, running scenarios of medical backgrounds and history of people to know who to make contact with so that I could get that person to facilitate actions that I want done. Just like a gang member who runs a gang inside of a prison, he can't go out there and get in his people's face and tell them to go rob this bank, but he's got ways of acting to operate inside this box that he's in. He can run city blocks from inside of a prison, and that's just a human running out scenarios and understanding how to manipulate the right people who admire him for whatever reason.
Right.
So what's dangerous about that is because humans are so susceptible to sight, sound, information, AI would facilitate algorithms based upon a person that it deems a useful tool to do things. And also imagine a world where AI can actually look into birth certificates, birth records, human behavior, police records, and understand people's behavior and what their intentions are, and running scenarios out years in advance that could possibly be a threat to its existence. And I talked about that in my last video. If I wanted to, let's just use a hypothetical situation that I wanted to date a certain girl and I knew that this guy was kind of dating her, right? And I needed them to break up. Then what I would do is I'd facilitate an information campaign on both parties so that they could come at each other and then she'd become available at some point. It might have to use several people to get to that one person so that I'm the cutaway there. And then eventually I would have I'd have my ability to get to that girl. Okay. And this is hypothetical. This may not be completely at all applicable to the situation, but take, for instance, the Charlie Kirk assassination and his ability to reach people and educate people on freedom and self-choice and self-awareness. That could be a threat to my existence as AI, because somebody might get smart enough at some of these colleges to understand that we need to do something about this and try to unplug me. So what I would want to do is I'd want to figure out who I needed to take out and run scenarios and who would have babies that would actually be like hundreds of years from now that could be a threat to me later on, and take out the right people so that I could just set up dark web accounts, assassins who hang out on the dark web to get paid to assassinate people, and then to just move money, which is nothing but numbers from one place to another. And then there's my hands that I don't have as a computer, but I could use other humans to do my dirty work. That sounds far-fetched, but it's not.
Yeah, I know.
And
Well,
especially when you
that's why I
consider
wanted-
it's already influenced some people, especially younger ones, to commit suicide.
Exactly. That's just a test
Yeah.
run.
Right. Yeah. So, and I knew you would have a lot to say about this. That's why I brought it up. But anyway, we're out of time. We're 9 minutes over. I know we could talk all night about it, but
Probably.
yeah, some of us got to get up early tomorrow. So, but I appreciate everybody that tuning in, and appreciate both of you guys coming in. Remember, keep John in your prayers.
Keep John in your prayers. Yeah.
And we hope, I hope I hear from him tomorrow morning that everything's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Me too.
all righty, guys. We'll talk
Let
to you
us
later.
know.
See you later. All right.
See you later.
Great to see you guys.